All right, it is. It's time to shine here, Mr. Caddy. So, hello, Mr. Fairmont. Hello, Mr. Caddy. So this thing, we have Kenny and I and Jamie have spent time, not too much time, very quickly and crudely tossing this guy in. This is, I believe it was a 2003 Honda Element, 5-speed 4-wheel drive. So there's the transfer case that just goes under the steering rack. That's why the back end is a little bit wide. It's the complete Honda Element all-wheel drive subframe, because swapping all sorts of stuff would be dumb. Everybody does pokey wheels anyway, and we'll put some big flares on it. Before we bring it in the garage, it had a little bit of puddle in it. So I drilled the hole in the floor quick, and I got some awesome, oh yeah, that's the hood latch right there. Took the hood off. So I got some incredible things. Check out that terrarium. Bugs. Look at this. Look at this. I talked to ECU masters and they're friends of friends. Funny how that always happens. It works out like that. They know Arnie Toman, and they actually work together and all sorts of cool stuff. So I was like, hey, I've tuned like 2 or 3 ECU Masters cars. I'm getting into this stuff. This stuff's cool. I'd like to check it out. And I noticed that you have this is for a K-Series. So a K-Series stock harness plugs into this. This plugs into ECU Black. And look at that, you're done. So that was appealing, that I have to do no wiring. And they have a base tune for K-Series for this ECU. And they were like, hey, how about you try a PDU? Always wanted to try one of these. And how about you try one of these crazy dashes too? And I'm like, man, I'm not going to say no to all of that. I would love to use all of it as I'm getting fancier and can share this stuff. This is very intriguing to me. It's crazy how well this stuff feels extremely expensive. I mean, it is expensive, but it feels like it's like metal. All this is like solid state relay hardened metal, like you could club somebody with it. It's small but fierce, understand? All 3 of these units have really solid feel connectors and everything else, so that's cool. This is like a 3D print. That's plastic, obviously, but it's just to connect the pins. But this stuff is amazing. I can't get over how small this PDU is. Also, 16 outputs, really cool. I was talking with the owner, Zach. I want to understand more functionality out of this, and from what I understand is any of these devices can sniff CAN and use CAN independently. Like he was saying, this has compatibility with like most major ECU manufacturers. It can just directly read it. You can just choose a drop down for the CAN and it'll read it. And I was like, hey, since they can read Holley, I was like, can this thing sniff the Holley bus? So think about this stuff. I'm going to see how this works out. Say you have a nitrous output and your fan output, and there's a trigger. So you build the whole output for your fan and you never pin it. But when it activates, it turns green, even though it's not pinned. That on CAN bus code, can you send to here to turn the fan on using no wiring or, inputs and outputs? Because classically you'd wire an output from the ECU as a hard input, and then it would run, then it's running off the PDU, which is nice because it's, circuit protected and everything else, but you're using a wire out of the ECU into this guy. So I was like, hey, can this just sniff independently with like nearly no triggers and turn on devices based off of CAN output? And he's like, yeah. And that immediately, uses for something like this came flying out of my brain. If you guys can understand, you can basically control like a 4-stage nitrous kit, a trans brake, a pump box, your 2 or 3 PWM output fans, and similar with no physical wire telling it to do that. That's insane. I thought you could do it with this. So you're like, yeah, ECU Black, send your ECU master message to this ECU master PDU and turn it on. I didn't know you could use this independently and have it just sniff the CAN and turn on fans and things. I'm very interested how this works with like a Holley, because if you have this and a Terminator, you can do a lot because you don't have to wire outputs to turn stuff on. So that's something we're going to deep dive as we start tossing all of this into the Civic. The Civic. Did I really just say Civic? It's a Caddy. It's a Volkswagen. Anyway, they sent me this too. I got to read up on exactly what this is. Assuming like the PDU here has no CAN connection, but it might have a connection on the harnesses. I didn't dig too much into it. I wanted to lay everything out and look at everything pretty. And then this might be like a CAN sniffing programming device. This might be far useful than I imagined. But yeah, there is the conglomerate here that's going to go into that car. I'm very excited because it should be easy. Should be, because it's all a plug and play stock. I got an eBay cut down ECU to put in the car, plug this in, and then maybe even use this to key that stuff on. But yeah, I'm excited to... What I'd really like to do is, this thing is very beat and questionable, so I'd love to pull every wire out. And if I have enough I/O, I want to use the ECU Masters power distribution unit, module, whatever you want to call it, to do tail lights, headlights, everything. I'd like to eliminate the entire crappy fuse box in this car and run absolutely everything out of the ECU Masters. So I have to intelligently think of how to do that and combine I/O or fix it later. Either way, very excited for this partnership and to do it on that and basically be plugging everything in. I'm tired of wiring and stuff. I want to plug stuff in and do burnouts. So here we go.